Seems to be, for as long as I've been involved in this, different kind of animal when you got bands playing, you know, 9 o'clock, I think 9:20 in the morning.
9:20 is when we went on today.
So you go on. It's like, it's the rest of the day, you know, usually you spend your whole day preparing for all the machinations that there are to get ready for a gig, doing a gig, and then everything. So it kind of seems like it throw the clock off.
Yeah, because really, to be honest with you, like, even like the all day preparing is pretty much all day sitting around waiting until it's time to do something. So,
right.
I mean, tour can be one of the most boring things in the world. You know what I mean? Just because you show up at the club at 3, doors aren't until 7, and if you're not the headlining band that's doing the sound check and loading in whatever, if you've only got a support band's amount of gear, then you load it in and you stand around until the headliner's done, and then you put your stuff up. You may sound check, you may not. Depends on the venue and stuff like that. If you don't, you put your gear on stage and then you sit around until it's time to play. You play and then you sit around until either you play and you load out, or you play and you sit around until it's time to load out, and then you load out and drive to the next place.
Right.
There's so much just sitting around. It's ridiculous. You'd be amazed.
Right. Kind of like a bit much, but the glorious burden. It's a wonderful gig to be able to have, I suppose.
It's not. I don't want to sound like I'm a poor me dude, because I don't feel like, oh, it's so rough. I'm just saying that there's not a whole lot of, aside from this particular tour, because it's been so busy with press, we got a new record out and stuff like that. Right. On a regular tour, if you're playing at night and stuff like that, there's a lot of filling time. You know what I mean? Because you've got a lot of time to fill. There's a lot. You sit in the van when you're driving. If you don't drive overnight when you're sleeping, you get a hotel. During the day, you're going to sit in the van, you're going to drive, you know what I mean? So it's just a lot of waiting to do something, because you only play half an hour to an hour a day,
Right.
Everything else is just waiting to that time.
Right,
so,
yeah.
But it's a cool gig.
All right. Well, with the record just now, here, do you spend much time now thinking about a next record?
No, absolutely.
Not at all?
Absolutely none. I maybe thoughts have crossed my mind about what we're going to do in the next record, but we're so focused on this one that it just came out 3 weeks ago now. I think a month ago as of next week or something like that. So, and it's doing awesome. It's doing so well right now. We've got so much work ahead of us, because you got to kind of strike when the iron's hot. You want to go ahead and really put the hammer down and put the effort in when it makes sense to. So we're planning our next move with this record more than planning the next record.
Hate to overanalyze it too much, but did you stagger the release of this record, or to try and wait for that right time, or was it just
no?
It
just so happened that our last record was over 2 years ago now. It was 2 years ago in March. So we went ahead and we really did a lot of touring. After last year's Sounds of the Underground, we did that, and that was kind of closing up the record cycle. We did that, went to Europe for a couple of weeks, came back, and then we did one last tour with Arch Enemy, just kind of to go out and have a good time, make a little bit of money before we went ahead and stopped touring. Started working on the new record. We knew we had to have a new record. We wanted to make money to pay Christmas bills and buy Christmas presents. Is pretty much what we did. So we knew that if we went ahead and buckled down and did the work we had to do in January and February, that we have the record written by March, we could record, and then we can go ahead and put it out for in time for Ozzfest. So it's out, while we're on Ozzfest, it's worked out perfectly. The timing's been great, but that was the plan. There's not a lot of bands that have brand new records out on Ozzfest. There's us, Full Blown Chaos, and Strapping Young Lad. Everyone else has products out. They have stuff out, but it's re-releases, reissues, DVDs, stuff to keep people aware of the band and put them in there. What's up, buddy?
I was just looking for you.
Almost done, or just a few. So we're one of the few bands that has a brand new product out. So, and it's a huge deal to have a brand new record out on Ozzfest, so it puts us in a very, very, very good position.
Right. How has it been?
Awesome.
Playing during the day.
Awesome. Today at 9:20, there was, probably 600-700 kids, maybe more. I don't know. I have a hard time gauging how many are out there. You know, especially seeing as like when we started, there was definitely only 100. You know, no more at all. By the time we got done, you know, people had gotten through the gates and gotten in and stuff. So it was maybe, you know, there's probably, you know, close to 1,000 or more, you know, watching us, I think. But you know, all the kids down front were singing along. Everybody knew the words. You know what I mean? Which is, I mean, I was listening to our sound guy. He records the show, and you can hear people singing along. You know, I held the mic out. You can hear people, like a crowd of people singing along, and that's at 9:20. It's unheard of. Very few second stage bands, you know, gotten that kind of reaction, get that kind of reaction. You know? So it's amazing. It feels great.
Right, right. All right, so obviously it shows a certain dedication to the kids that are coming out.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
You know, the parents that are bringing them, because there's a lot of that, which is a wonderful thing to see. I bring my kids to every show, but that used to be a very weird thing.
Yeah,
now
totally.
I see tons of families. You know, so it's a beautiful thing since Ozzfest has grown over this last decade plus. I just spent the last year in Egypt, all right, where rock music is literally illegal.
Yeah.
All right. You see kids walking around, despite that, at risk, literal risk to life and limb, with T-shirts and different bands and stuff like that. And honest to God, there was a kid that I would see, he would wear this T-shirt to death. He had an Unearthed T-shirt. I just wonder where he got it, if it was a bootleg or whatever it was. And tons of stuff like that. Have you toured enough around the world to kind of see to gauge how kids in different lands, you know, how much rock and roll really means to them, how much specifically your music means to them?
We've gone to the UK more than anywhere else, and I think that we've got something going on in the UK. We've got there's kids out there that know us, that are into us. Our record just came out over there, and it's doing well over there too. We got great reviews in Kerrang and Metal Hammer. We haven't done a whole lot of international touring other than the UK. Went to Europe twice. You know, we went one time with Killswitch, was like 5 shows in Europe. Sounds of the Underground, we did like maybe 12 shows in Europe, but totally, I mean, we haven't been in Europe very much at all. So it's really tough to say, you know, that this, you know, or that we get this kind of reaction, or I've seen this, because we really haven't. You know, we're still pretty much, you know, still kind of getting off the ground. I mean, especially when it comes to international touring, you know what I mean? So I really couldn't tell you, to be honest with you.
Right. All right, so you got 2 more days of this. Tonight's Ozzy's last thing that he's doing for his namesake. Yeah, so I was telling my son, I was like, you know, long before you were born, I saw his last tour. So, yeah, and...
he may even show up tomorrow or the day after and want to play, you know? I mean, all the stuff goes with the tour. All his air conditioners and all that stuff, too, it all goes with the tour. So if he decides he wants to play, they set it up and he plays.
Cool. Well, that's a nice luxury.
Yeah, right? He's like, I feel like playing tonight, or I feel like playing tomorrow. I think I'm going to do it, you know?
Yeah.
Charter me a plane, I'll show up there and I'll play, you know? So.
Do you think that far ahead, even in just, you know, terms of, like, I'd like to be doing that 30, 40, you know, years, such as he has, or is that something, no?
I don't know if I'd want to be playing in 30 years. I think in 30 years I might want to be, because in 30 years I'll be 60, 61. You know, I'm not a kid. I'm not old by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm definitely not a young kid anymore. I'd like to think that in 30 years I'll be like maybe managing or doing something in the music business, but not playing. I think my time on stage will be done, you know, within 20. But who knows? You know, maybe when I'm 55, I don't know. Maybe I will still be. Maybe we'll still be making relevant music. And hey, you know what? If we're making relevant music and I still can, you know, pull it off and not look like, you know, a moron, look like I'm over the hill getting up there, you know, trying to relive glory days, then, you know, who knows? Maybe. We'll see.